It was the year 2000, and Sony was releasing some interesting Minidisc decks and bookshelf systems. Everything from ultra high-end products, CD and MD stackers, even systems that looked more at home next to your computer than in your entertainment unit. On some of these, you'll find this curious port. What's it for? Is it just a keyboard input for text titles, or can it be used to transfer music from PC to Minidisc? Is it good for track marks, track titles? Most importantly, what can it do for us today in the 2020s and beyond? Is it easy to use, or is it fully deserving of its place on that big scrap heap in the sky? Today, I'll go into depth on Sony's M-crew and show the many features of this little-known piece of the Minidisc story. I'll demo recording, editing, and a few of the more interesting features it has to offer. At the turn of the millennium, Sony was untouchable. Reaching the giddy heights of success with the launch of the PlayStation 2, they had their finger firmly on the pulse of a new generation. Sony also knew that when these youngsters were not gaming, they were illegally downloading MP3s via Napster. You know who you were. Sony knew there was money in the MP3 revolution. At the time, Minidisc had created enough of a splash in a few world markets to be rebooted in the US. A relaunch was kicked off in 1997 to very little response. But with the Minidisc as a mature, all-digital product that was brilliant, Sony thought Minidisc's time had come. Sony went so far as to create this tiny little logo, which I regret I can't find a better version of. This promise of PC music must have been a difficult decision for Sony, since they owned 2 record labels at a time when music piracy was a big problem. This was probably one of the reasons that M-crew wasn't a long era for Sony, but I hope you'll agree it was an exciting one. So what is M-crew? In Sony's words, it's a PC link that connects your mini stereo system or MD deck to a computer. It offers a variety of disc editing and character input features. It plays PC music files and Minidiscs. It's also easy to record. Now, I hear you asking, isn't that what Sonic Stage and now the WebMD project do? Actually, it does a great deal more than that. So, you get your 16-bit, 44.1 kHz WAV file and drop it into the software. That's right, this may be deal breaker number 1 for all you high fidelity purists. Sorry, but M-crew is 16-bit only. Minidisc is a 16-bit system anyway. So, recording your precious digital files is found in the record window. It's under this little tab, File Media. And as you can see, you've got all of the different folders here. One of the things you'll want to do straight away is go from file name to title name. And you've got all of the information there. So, what we want to do is we want to transfer. So first of all, you've got to hit synchro. You can hit high speed if you wish, but that also puts it into a lower quality. We've got stereo here. You can also do mono and long play 2 and long play 4. So you can add just single tracks by just clicking add and then undo, but you'll notice it hasn't copied over the title. But what you want to do is you want to actually just drag that across there. Then you've got all of the names here. Then all you do is hit record and recording will start. You'll notice that I've got the art for some of these files. That's actually a drag and drop feature. So you drag your picture of the album into the window here. It's a nifty little feature. Files are added to an album through this button here, the file registration button. And new albums are added. You'll see that some of these
light up or grey out depending on where you are. So you've actually got to go to the file media, the top of the tree, to add new folder or new file album. One of the interesting things you can do is add disk properties, add genres, artist, URL. I think the URL is just a cheap sort of thing to go to an artist's homepage or something. I've not been able to get that working. But yes, of course you can add genre. There's quite a few genres in here to choose from. But that's not necessary at all unless you're a completionist. I think if you have access to the CD database, with my deck I don't have access to the CD database. As you can see through here, this model does not support CDDB, unfortunately. But yeah, that's recording.
Let's talk more about limitations here. And we can get a look at this from the features image in the manual. You'll notice that this version of the top toolbar looks a little different to mine. That's because the feature offering depends on which unit you have. This is a feature table that is still hosted on Sony of Japan's page. You'll see that not all systems are created equally, and it's not always to do with the limitations of each system. Sometimes it's just Sony being a big jerk and not allowing features they could have easily made available. For example, the grayed out slider here, looking very sad indeed, is one of the more understandable decisions. It's mainly available in the bookshelf systems that have an internal amp. But if you purchase a deck like mine, this is simply a non-selectable item that leaves a grey scar on my soul. Not so understandable, however, is that I do not have access to web radio, CD databases, or the CD-ROM drive on the PC. That would have been very easy for Sony to implement, but they're only available for the higher-end models and the PC3. Let's talk track names. M-crew does not import ID3 tags or metadata of any kind from your audio files. You heard correctly. You need to put up with file names and edit them yourself. But before you click off the video in disgust, there's somewhat of a workaround. Sony does sheepishly provide a way of bulk editing file names. There is a section in the manual entitled Assigning Track Names to an MD with Text Data from Another Application, which means you can copy-paste raw text data from an Excel or Notepad document, maybe even a simple website like FreeDB, with very little editing. This only helps for full albums, but if you're making a mixtape, it's old-fashioned file naming all the way. You're on your own.
So you can save it as a CSV file. You can copy all text information and paste. And then, so as you can see, I've got some wrong information here. Okay, so I'll just copy all and paste it back. You'll note that Whitney is incorrectly named. So what you've actually got to do to paste it back in here, you can't click here, you can't click here. You've actually got to click into the first track, into the naming, and go paste. It took me a long time to work that out.
On the upside, let's talk multi-CD to MD compilations. If your deck is furnished with a CD stacker like mine, you can do a rather nifty thing.
So this deck has the capacity for 5 CDs. Currently in there, you've got 2 CDs that have CD text on them. And what you can do is you can actually drag from CD 2 and of course also drag from CD 1. And it will be careful where you click in this system. It'll actually load each CD as it comes time to record. Of course, synchro has to be on, and you can actually go with normal speed and high speed. I'm going to go with normal speed, as I think that's probably the best quality. And all you have to do is hit record. And you can hear it loading the CD right now. And there it is recording. Yep, so it's about to change. So there you go, TOC is written, and you've got all of the track names and everything. It's a really good system, really good way of doing things. This is really helpful if the only way you've got access to high resolution music that's quite old is to purchase a CD. You can rip it that way in the highest, well, pretty high quality.
Let's talk editing, and we'll start with groups. So first of all, you need to have the group mode on. You can toggle between normal and group mode here. Group mode is more useful for those who use long play, if you have multiple albums on a single disc. First thing to know about this system is it's best to select your tracks before you hit the group button. So the group is down here. By the way, there's this little more button down here under the Minidisc window. You've actually got to toggle that to get all of the extra items. So it's best to select all of the songs that you want in the group first, and then go create group. So let's say we have 3 groups that we want to do. Okay, so I've got my groups. To move the tracks, you need to select the actual number and move them between the groups here. And also to delete the tracks out of the group, you have to hit the group release button, which is over here. The group mode is really fun because you can use it in standard play as well. I used it for a compilation I was making for my wife. So we'll put it in group mode, and you can see that under Minidisc, it's got, for the name Soul Sisters, various artists. I've actually got 2 albums here, a short album and a longer album. This was a really cool short album, but I wanted to actually fill up the disc because it was only about 21 minutes. So I came up with a list of various artists, and now I've got, you know, about 80 minutes, well, 70 odd minutes of music. So yeah, it's really good and really a fun feature to know about. So let's divide a track. So to divide a track, you actually need to be playing a track, or else if I hit stop, the divide track button is grayed out. Don't know if you can see that well. Let's press play, hit divide, and see what happens. So you can actually move this along. It'll give you the time scale here, hit divide. To combine tracks, there's a combine button. So just say you want to erase a part of a track, you hit the AB erase button. So after your A point is set, it will actually play 2 seconds, and you can actually adjust it a little bit. And you can move this forward or back with the rehearsal. After that's done, you click OK. And now it will go about setting the B point. You can't actually just pull that forward, unfortunately, like you can with modern technology. You actually have to seek with these buttons here. So say I just wanted to chop out this point. I'm just going to hit OK the second time. Now it's going to give me the rehearsal information as well. So I can move that in increments, very small increments, or I can move this left and right. But it's a very interesting, janky little piece of functionality here, but it works okay. Fade in and fade out. Pretty simple. Press the fade in button. You can actually adjust the curve here to it's interesting that they've got these little options. That's quite cool. So to give you a bit of a rehearsal again, and of course you can move this up to 5 seconds if you wish to fade in your tracks. You can change the recording level of a track. If it's in standard play, you can't do it if it's MDLP. And if I wanted to add a little bit more volume, I can add up to 12 decibels, which is actually quite powerful. Or if I wanted to fade and come down, I can go minus 12 decibels. This process actually takes quite a bit of time because it actually has to go back through and edit the actual track. It's actually really cool. On the Minidisc deck itself, it actually gives you a bit of a percentage progress indicator. And erasing tracks is actually something that's done pretty easily. You just select your track and hit the erase button. Remember that after you've done all your editing, nothing is committed until you press the eject button. You can record manually as well, either optically or via analog inputs, and it's a surprisingly feature-rich experience. This could help you even today if you have a turntable and you want to record your vinyl. Super handy if you have a big collection and want it to be available on the go with your Minidisc Walkman. Or if you're like me and you want to push the envelope somewhat, you can do something really exciting. Now, I said before that Minidisc is a 16-bit format, but there are myths, whispers on old forums of a legendary technology Sony developed called wide bitstream. It was designed to allow 20-bit processing on Minidisc, and my trusty MXD D5C makes use of it. I picked up this inexpensive 24-bit Sound Blaster card from back in the day. You can entirely circumvent the PC Link's optical out capabilities by using another card. The PC Link itself is simply an external USB sound card, analog and optical, multiplexed with a serial control bus device, thanks to Graham from Foregraph for that and making me sound smart, who is about the only person in the world who is trying to reverse engineer the PC Link for use on a Mac, etc. Check out his work on GitHub, the link is on screen. Put simply, the PC Link has no way of knowing that you've jumped ship onto a fancier yacht, and that's a good thing.
Manual recording is found under the record window, and normally it's on something like CD, but you choose either optical in or analog in using these extremely large icons, which is quite cool. Manual setting is obviously on. You've got here setup. Just want to explain this just quickly. You can set a smart space, so if there's space on a CD or your source that's longer than 3 seconds, it'll chop it down to be 3 seconds, so you can turn that off and on. Automatic track mark level sync. So this is basically when the audio of your source drops below certain decibels, which you can set, it'll automatically put a track mark in there if that audio has dropped below that level for more than 2 seconds. You can also automatically set the fader, but we're not going to do that this time. So we've got a track playing in the background here, and just to prove that it is in fact a 24-bit file, I'll just have a look at the summary here. As you can see, 24-bit, 44 kilohertz. So yeah, that's playing in the background, and M-crew doesn't know that it's not going through the optical on the PC Link. So all you have to do is click record, and you might hear some music happening. I'm going to have to talk over that. We're not actually recording at the moment, but when you hit play, that's when it starts to record. When you see these little red bars here happening, that means that, that you're recording. You can also hit the fader, and that'll fade out the last track, fade in the next track. Other than that, the recording level adjust, you can do this here.
So that ticks the 24-bit box, but recording this way, you lose your track marks and track titles, and that's not good. I'll continue to try to record this 24-bit thing via M-crew. I'm not going to get into the benefits of 16-bit versus higher bit rates. I'll leave that to smarter people to debate about. But is it true? Did I just record 20-bit Minidisc from a 24-bit source? The answer is probably. A very smart person on a website called Marlene's Musings actually tested wide bit stream. The results were 20 bits measured on a Minidisc. Her website is here, and she seems to be some kind of audio engineer genius. Thank you, Marlene. If you do know in-depth information about Sony's mysterious wide bit stream, please let us know in the comments. Easy mode. Yes, M-crew has an easy mode, but I have no idea who this is supposed to be for, because if you were able to get M-crew going in the first place, you don't need an easy mode. So you can toggle between easy mode and regular mode just by pressing easy in the top right and normal mode here. So the basic thing with easy mode is you can control volume, you can play tracks, you can record, you even have random access to each track on each source. One of the things that you want to do is hit the Minidisc and then hit easy record. Easy record is it's for recording quickly and easily, and you can just hit start. So it's basically record a CD to MD with stereo in high speed, but you can change the settings to long play 2. We can track arrays as well, everything that's on there, which is convenient. It'll show you the recording time, recording CD1 to MD1 with long play 2 in high speed. Don't know if you can change it from high speed to regular. It'll give you a progress bar for each track. It won't show the entire disc recording progress bar, but I think this is recording at 4 times speed because we're going into long play. And I think it's using the Atrac 3 recording format. It won't use Atrac Type-R for this high-speed dubbing, and especially for long play, because that's not what long play is designed for. As you can see, it's transferred the CD, the disc title, and when you press all of the tracks, disc information, track information, it's transferred everything. I briefly wanted to mention a few of the notable features like the media library, which I won't be demoing in full here. The media library remembers your media, which is very helpful. It's great if you want to add your track information to a CD that doesn't have any track data. The next time you put the CD in, it will remember the data that you put in. Label printing. You can use Sony's Picture Gear Labelmaker 5.1 software to print Minidisc labels using the data you've painstakingly added to the system. For the longest time, I was unable to find the software, despite many fruitless journeys into the World Wide Web. But just before I finished this video, I found it. Eureka! And I want to make a video on label making in the future, the way I do it, and maybe also the way Labelmaker 5.1 does it. But here's a sneak peek into the workflow from M-crew to Labelmaker. Web radio is a feature I would have loved to have demonstrated today. Sadly, it's on that list of features that are only available on certain units. There are too many other features to share in just one video, so I'll just quickly let them scroll here in case you're interested. So what rating am I going to give M-crew? After using the software for about 6 months now, I have mixed feelings about it. My first thought is that it's surprisingly feature-rich and full of exciting surprises. I love that it uses Atrac Type-R and that you can record optically. No matter how advanced NetMD gets, there's still something that taking the time to record in real time, it still appeals to me. But there are huge downsides also to M-crew. It's an extremely steep learning curve when dealing with old technology to set it up and get it working on the operating system in the first place. We now have the added complexity of dead operating systems and old Minidisc machines that will need repair when you get them. I'll tell you this now, M-crew is not for everyone. Stick to NetMD-based systems if you simply want to transfer tracks and do it easily without pulling your hair out. This video is actually a follow-up to one I posted last year. That video was rushed and it was a disaster. I thought about deleting it out of sheer embarrassment, but I will leave it here as a testament to all time, as a warning to any that may be tempted to pursue the folly that is Sony M-crew. Also, the drawbacks in the track titling system, as well as the 16-bit thing, are a little perplexing. So the question of rating comes down to this for me. Is it fun? Does it work? Can it largely do the things I want to do with it? The answer is mostly. I don't have heaps of discs that I've recorded with the software because I was mainly putting time and effort into learning, repairing, troubleshooting, rinse and repeat, and in creating this video. I'd like to thank 3 amazing Minidisc pioneers without whose help I would not have been able to make this video. Thanks to Marlene's Musings for testing of the wide bitstream system and confirming 20-bit on a Minidisc is possible. Graham from Foregra on GitHub gave me the information on the PC link kit and confirmed that yes, the software and the external PC link is only limited to 16-bit. Check out his GitHub site on the link on screen. Last but not least, I haven't mentioned this before, but George Stiles created an alternative to M-crew in 2000 called RIP MDS PC3. I haven't used it a lot, but it does show some promise, and it does address some of the issues with track naming. Amazingly, I emailed him to a 20-plus-year-old email address, and he answered me, and he provided me with a copy of the software. He's very generous and has provided the source code and all the files on his GitHub, link on the screen. These people are very generous, and it's people like that that restore your faith in humanity and allow ancient technology like this to rise from its grave. Thanks for watching.